seconds.
Hey.
Welcome, everyone.
You have
It's good to be here.
tuned in to us once again, Hotties and VR. I'm Venus SX, here with my besties.
I'm Serendipity Sky. What was... I didn't know this did that.
Oh!
Cute.
And Goddess Soleil. We don't have your audio.
Oops, and got a soleil. Sorry, with my emotional support donut today.
Oh, cool. Yeah, here we are in we are actually on a birthday cake. So we are in VR chat in a world created by Renfrew Irumi. And so they designed this world for a friend who was having a birthday. And so as you can see, we are on the flower on the top of the birthday cake, and we have an array of food and sweets today. Goddess Soleil, you wanted us to jump into a food world. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, so I really wanted to find a great food world, and there's a lot of amazing ones, but we needed a small world for streaming. So unfortunately, we couldn't be in any of the really cool worlds. But there's worlds where you can have food fights, and there's worlds where you're like baking cakes and getting to like learn how to do different pastries. Yeah, there's lots of really cool food worlds. So if you're a foodie or have any food related interests, VR chat has a lot of great things for you. But our interest today is we were thinking about what to talk about in Hotties in VR, and we see a lot of like streaming and online content and just different kinds of things in the world that would involve food in artistic expression and sexy expression and playfulness. And I thought it'd be fun to just talk about all the different ways that people engage with food in their play.
An interesting topic, because in our society, there's this, this whole real push towards, people being thin and looking a certain way, and being healthy, and food. What we're looking at here is like some pretty unhealthy food. What we've got here, lots of sugar, cola, juices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recently watched something on Viceland, which was around feedism and people who love eating and getting really fat. I was really opened my eyes. I had not sort of come across that before. And then Soleil said that to me, it's actually a fetish.
Yeah, so there's a few that I wanted to like bring up as like in your like 3-minute food play education for the day from your sex therapist friend. There's sort of a few main categories. There's the feeders and feedism. There's mukbang. There's splooshing, depending on your pronunciation. There's the sushi-based one, which I'm probably fucking up the pronunciation, nantamori, where you're being a human sushi platter. And then there's kink related food and control that's used, and then there's the very like basic, like putting a little bit of whipped cream on somebody and licking it off. So I wanted to talk about a little bit of each category and kind of like how it plays out and how we see it in kind of our mainstream culture, because a lot of it is not only in the sexual realm, we see it in just sort of like randomly you're scrolling through Instagram and you see like an ASMR that's food related, and that's actually like a lot of mukbang is the crossover within ASMR communities. So do we want to start with feedism? Does that feel good? So maybe we'll go through each one.
We'll need you to define a few things. Yeah,
we'll
sure. That'd be really interesting.
Do it. So we start. Maybe mukbang is maybe the one you see the most often. Mukbang is usually a really pretty, often a Japanese or Korean girl who's just like gorging herself on really interesting or weird or strange foods. So she's just really
Huh.
pretty and usually a thin
Mm-hmm.
girl, and she's just sitting and like eating a whole like plate of spaghetti, or she's eating like a big bowl of ramen, or like a live octopus, or and people
Yeah.
like there'll be thousands
Mm.
of subscribers who will tip her and who will like sit and watch her like gorge herself, or like really pretty pastries and cakes. So it's interesting to like you're like trying to understand what the rationale is behind this. What would you think, serendipity? Why would someone want to watch someone eat really interesting or pretty foods?
I don't know. That's a really interesting subject. Watching people, yeah,
Have you
I
seen these
don't
videos
know.
on
Like
YouTube?
I'm,
Yeah,
I have not very much. It's not something like I think I've only ever seen a couple maybe. And one was like you were
yeah,
mentioning the live octopus, which was really odd to me. But yeah,
totally.
I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Venus?
That's a bit of a Korean thing. When I went to South Korea, we ate live octopus. So yeah, it seems to be a little bit of a more Asian thing. It was quite fun actually. It was sort of the suckers were sucking on my tongue as I was trying to chew and get it down
Oh,
my throat. It
Oh
was kind
no.
of
oh,
fun. It
oh.
was actually quite an interesting, sensational experience. We're not talking a large octopus. It
Yeah.
was probably quite small, and it was wriggling
Yeah.
still on the plate. And so
Oh,
it was the
interesting.
funniest thing was trying to get my chopsticks to pick up a wriggling piece of octopus, get it in my mouth, chew it fast enough so that I could get it down. It was really fun. So and didn't taste too bad. You
That's
dipped it in
crazy.
some hot sauce, you know.
Yeah.
I have seen one of those mukbangs before. I remember I stumbled across like you said, a Japanese girl, pretty, and she's just shoving sashimi, like sashimi, raw fish, just dangling it down her mouth, just slopping it all over her face. It was just she was wet all
Yeah.
over. So my feeling is there's something there's something, I don't know if it's sexy, but there's something about that just the abandon into the
Mm-hmm.
food. Like, I don't care what I
Right.
look like. I'm just like, ugh, just,
Yeah.
it's all over me. I'm just taking it all in and it looks really messy. And then maybe has a
Totally.
bit of a fetish for some people because it likens the messiness of sex, perhaps. You know, that you're getting
Yeah.
into it with your mouth and you don't really care how you look. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
my guess.
Yeah. Well, and technically,
Mm.
so the word Makita, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, so I'm sorry, Korean folks. Makita is eat, and then bang song is broadcast. So it's like very literally just the mukbang is watching
Oh.
someone eat.
Oh.
But when I've
Broadcasting
observed it
your
and like
eating.
noticed it, yeah, there's sort of two big things that come up in terms of like what people explain as like the psychological logistics or meaning behind it. One is that it's community, because a lot of people in Korea are very isolated and don't have a lot of community, and eating together is a very social and cultural thing for lots of cultures. And so like watching someone consume some interesting food is actually, oh, we're doing this together. And it's a lot about sharing community, like other people that are watching, chatting, connecting, talking to the person. So it's this communal food experience that like really a lot of us are missing in our world. So that's the first piece. And then the second piece is that it is like for people who are sometimes cannot eat food for whatever reason, maybe health problems, maybe anorexia. They're enjoying the process of vicariously observing or consuming the food through the other person. So they get
Mm.
like a
Hmm.
rush of like,
Yep.
oh, I'm getting to binge without having to affect my body in the same way. I'm getting to eat all these things I normally wouldn't eat
Uh-huh.
or couldn't eat, but they're still getting some of the enjoyment from it from watching this other person have enjoyment. And then the third reason is like
Yep.
ASMR. They like
Okay.
the sound of it, they like the like texture of it, and they like the like it's like relaxing and soothing to them to like listen to the experience, kind of like the package opening ASMRs, or people are like are um rustling through paper and different kinds of textures. It's that like, God, for this moment, I can forget about my world. Nothing exists. There's no stressors in this moment. There's just this like pretty girl and an octopus sliding down her throat, and the sounds it's making, and it has like either a gross like startling reaction or a very relaxing like calming reaction.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't see any research that
What
supported that it was actually a like release like sexuality release oriented. It was way more about the like sensual or erotic experience of it versus like actually involving genitals or
Yep.
anything else in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. What does ASMVR actually stand for? Does it stand for something? Is it an acronym?
Yeah,
I don't know.
ASMR is
I'll
pretty
probably have to
popular
Google
in the
that.
like. Yeah, it's pretty popular in the like, um, just like the internet world. Like, there's a lot of like TikTok creators that make a ton of money off of ASMR. And the it started as, I think a lot of it was tingling, like tingling sensation. That was like,
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if I even know that if I know the definition.
Okay, it's autonomous sensory
Autonomous. Yeah.
meridian
There you go.
response.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
So it's your body
Okay. I've
having a
never
like
looked that up.
tingling
That's
sensation.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yep. So automatic. Sorry, did you say? Say that again for the stream.
Autonomous sensory meridian
Autonomous.
response.
Yeah.
Okay, autonomous sensory meridian response. Okay, so
And
is it
meridian would
always
be like your
audio?
nerve endings.
It,
There's usually always
yeah,
audio,
and
but
is
there's
it
sometimes
always an
visual
audio
attached to it.
experience? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They usually get really high sensitive mics, and then they're doing like running their fingers across it, or brushing something, or whispering into it, or
Yep.
kind of gives you that like
Yeah.
that tingly. Yeah.
And it's almost like an automatic response. It's our nervous system, our automatic nervous system, just
Yeah.
being tickled. Sounds like the little edges of the nerves are being tickled. Okay.
Totally.
Whew.
Yeah.
Do either of you guys
Okay,
get
so
that?
what
It's that
sloshing?
sensation?
Uh, um, yes, I think it happens for me if I remember looking at someone doing that with a very sensitive mic, just like touching it, tapping it with her finger. Yeah, I found it quite interesting. I can't remember if I got the sensations in my body.
Mm-hmm. I definitely get that like the feeling of the maybe like the chills. Is that it's kind of like that when you get that like tingling in your body, that like kind of like get the. But that's maybe more like something kind of. I'm feeling a heightened awareness to it's like a situation or a
Okay.
surrounding.
I've only ever
Some sounds,
experienced
I
that
guess.
with music.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I could see that.
Okay. Just that automatic, yep, it just runs a shiver through your body and you're like, whoo, that
Yeah.
really touches something.
Well, and this may be related, but I know there's certain food sounds that I don't like. Is certain sounds of people chewing, like certain things, and that might be
Oh
like
gosh,
my spectrum
yeah.
disorder stuff. That just like certain chewing noises are pretty terrible. But that's
Yeah.
maybe the
Oh
opposite
yeah.
of ASMR.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
misophonia.
I find
Yeah, that's it.
yeah, in VR. I've met this someone. They are chewing gum, and in VR. I find it
Man.
super super annoying and almost
Oh yeah.
uncomfortable. You know, touching on what you just said,
Yeah.
Soleil,
Yes.
because they're like
Very.
chewing away, and I'm like, can you mute yourself, please? Like, what are you doing, chewing
Yeah.
like that? She's like, oh, you know, and her friend defended her and said she's just stopped smoking, okay? So she's chewing gum. I was like, okay, but yeah,
Oh yeah.
not very
I go
nice thing to
crazy
do
with
to
chewing
someone chewing their
sounds.
ear, unless they like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there might be
Oof.
people who like it. Come chew
You know
next
what
to
the
my ear,
worst
baby.
is?
Uh,
The worst is chips and popcorn. Oh my gosh, I lose my mind. I can't stand it.
Do you hate the movies then?
It's so
Or is it loud enough in the movies that
I
it doesn't do that?
yeah, if somebody is sitting close to me chomping away on popcorn, I go crazy. Gosh, when I first started dating my husband, I remember we were at a Mexican restaurant eating chips and salsa, and I wasn't comfortable enough with him yet to tell him to chew with his damn mouth closed. So I was like quietly
ah,
like just going nuts. I
Stewing.
I was
That's
yeah, I
funny.
was doing. I was so upset that I actually walked out to my car and I screamed for half a second before I came back in and I calmly told
oh,
him, "I'm sorry, but your chewing is driving me crazy. Can you please chew with your mouth closed?" It gets so
Has he
bad for
learned
me.
now? Does
Oh
he do
yeah,
better
yeah,
now?
yeah. He does way better now. And now he notices
hilarious.
when other people are chewing with their mouth closed and it drives him nuts too.
Yeah.
That's your first date.
That's
Your very first one.
It was in the beginning. It was in the beginning. Not the
Okay,
first one, but it
hilarious.
was close. Yeah.
well. So then you probably wouldn't be into the next fetish where they like um kind of like basic food play would be like someone's blindfolded and you're just feeding them something, like you're giving them something like the very 9.5 week style, or like licking things off their bodies or putting things in their bodies. That's kind of the most like common food play that we know of. And that's very like texture specific. I find for people they like the people who like it, they like the feeling of a certain texture, and it leads into the splashing conversation and splooshing, where you're just like jumping into piles of food, where it's like you're covering yourself in it or wrestling in it, or like the food is more of the medium for the play. And I actually really like that, but it's hard to find places and people that want to do that kind of like food engagement.
And is that usually cake? Is it any food, or is it usually like a cake style? I've seen that. Or is it like
splashing
generally
communities is pretty much they have a lot of different varieties. So it depends if there's a kink intersection, like if there's a kink intersection, they'll have like maybe they'll be trying to be humiliating in it. So like you're put in a cage and you're covered in spaghetti with like spices or something. You know, like they'll do something that's like meant to be kind of like pushing your edges erotically or physically as a kink dynamic. But if it's just like if it's not a kinky party and it's more like just splashing for splashing's sake, then it's more just kind of like pretty playful foods that are not necessarily meant to like they're not being used to humiliate or to like push your edges. It's more like they're a sensory medium, like jumping in a ball pit or a foam party, or it's like people that really like the feeling of the which I really do enjoy, the like feeling of food on me.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds
And then
nice,
do you enjoy
honestly.
then someone eating it off you? You enjoy then sort of being the platter as well, and then eating it off your body? Yeah.
But
That
I'm
can be
very specific.
really
It has to be like
sensual.
sweet foods, like cakes and ice cream,
Okay.
like very like I like a lot of
Yep.
like sweet things. I wouldn't do it with like you know, foods that are
Ham.
weird textures
Ham
or like
and potatoes or something.
cover me in
So is that
gravy and a Thanksgiving dinner.
cover me in ham and drip gravy all over my head? Okay, that sounds kinky. And so is it about? It's about the textures, as you said. It sounds like it's about the sensuality of feeling the food. But then, what is the relationship to the fact that food also, gives us sustenance? Sugar is something that gives us a bit of a high. Is that sort of related there, or it's really just about the messiness and the?
Well, I think about some of the, like the Greek and Roman like very large women who would just be like fed, and like historically like women that were really large, it was a sign of wealth and of like power to have like unlimited access and like all of these pretty things. So I think a lot of it also is this like it's a symbol of access, a symbol of like plenty, a symbol of like the ability to have food as a medium for play and connection, beyond just like it is about sustenance. It has become like it is connection. It is and then and texture, as well as like I think there's some people like to feel a little uncomfortable. It's like, oh, this is taboo. This is like I'm not supposed to be doing this. This is not a like normative thing that kind of like fuels desire too, whether it's erotic or just like again playful desire.
Yeah, wow. I like the idea of being a platter in the sense of, having delicacies on my body and, someone comes in and they love the cherries that are popped on my nipples or why do I always
like
think fruit? See, I tend to go towards fruit.
Yeah.
I tend to go towards fruit.
Nanta mori, which is the sushi plattering, where a person is a human sushi platter. Mm-hmm.
We've got lots of food in this world here, actually. We've got, we could even have a little splosh ourselves. What do you reckon, Soleil? Maybe in a bit, we could have a bit of a sploshing. We've got donuts, we've got muffins with icing on them, lots of juice and lots of cola. Yeah, let's do that. Have a splosh.
I've been
but tell me about
cupcakes.
the sushi.
I do want to find a world where you can play with the food and it shows up on your body. Like when you get hit with it, it like shows like you get splattered with it. That would be fun. The food fight.
Okay, why don't we go make that one of our little adventures?
Yeah,
we can make that one of our little adventures as hotties. Yeah, go out and find a world and get into some proper sploshing. Okay. Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah. Because I'd like to explore it because it doesn't do. I've never really explored this relationship with food really very much. So I'm very curious to see how it feels on me. But yes, sushi platter. I might like that. How can I be a human sushi? Roll me in nori?
well, you're just usually naked, and they like place the sushi on you like you're the platter, like you're the plate. So there's just like really pretty sushi that's like laid out decoratively on your body.
Yep.
And then people like eat
Yeah,
it
I
right
think
off
I'd
of
like
you.
that.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
don't put the
right.
wasabi on your. Don't
Well,
put the wasabi
where's the
near your
wasabi
foot.
go?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Where's the
keep the
wasabi go?
wasabi
That's
away
the
from
first thought I had.
no, away from any openings.
Yeah,
Um,
including the mouth. Like, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I went to a party that actually there was a person that had it that was a human sushi, and it was kind of like most people
Yeah.
just use it as an excuse to play with them because it was a play party. So we got to like, oh, you eat the sushi around their nipple, and you get to like suck on it a little bit or whatever. So it kind of like
Yeah.
with their consent,
Yeah.
we would ask them
It
first. But that was kind of a sweet.
facilitates,
Mhm.
yeah, a sweet sort of moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I like that.
Would you like to be a sushi platter? Serendipity? A sushi roll?
Not sushi.
Sashimi?
No, not the sushi, but
No?
like
Okay.
cupcakes and cookies and macarons,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Totally. Yeah. Honestly, coming into this, like it's something like the whole food thing is something that I've never understood. But it's kind of, I'm kind of warming up to the idea. I'm thinking might be a good date night with a husband. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a fun
Yeah.
way to like mix
yeah.
in things you're already doing in your life and like be playful with it. Yeah. Because you're usually
Yeah.
eating, and I see the trend is often people are eating at a date and then they just come home and they're tired and then they don't want to play and connect. And so it's like, how do you combine the two where there's space for like the eating is not the formality like, oh, you're important and I care about you, but it's like the eating can be integrated into like, you're important and I care about you, and also I want to touch you and play with you.
I like what you were saying
Yeah.
about the blindfold and feeding. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting, hey, because you've got to awaken your sense, your taste sense, like really heightened. And also there could be, depending on the dynamic you have, there could be, if I'm blindfolded, you could feed me anything. So I'm
totally. It's trust.
sort of placed into a bit of a submissive space. Yeah, a trusting space that you're going to feed me something that, I will enjoy, hopefully. Or if it is more of a power dynamic play, wow, I mean, am I going to accept whatever you put in my mouth?
Exactly.
Interesting.
And then the last, like, kind of general topic was the feeding topic, where, and this one of these may be the more complex one because there is just, again, so much fat shaming and fat phobia in our culture that I think one of the things I was reading about it and I've seen in my experience with the culture is that folks who are into feeding, into being the feeder, the one that's being fed, actually like the being given permission just to eat as much as they want when their partner is celebrating their fatness and celebrating their size and like enjoying them growing. And it's kind of this like letting go of all of the fear and worry about like the social conventions around it, and they're getting to like really like relax into that expression. And usually again it would be a partner that would be excited about not only like your visual appearance but also about the process of feeding you, and sometimes that process is related to like nurturing, caregiving kind of stuff too. They want to take care of you. They want to make sure you're healthy and well fed.
That's a really big topic, yeah, which we're not going to dive really deeply into right now. But I watched on that Viceland something that came across to me that this guy was talking about, and he wasn't super fat. He was actually just starting his journey towards, in this feedism sort of concept. And he explained a little bit his background. He was he was a skinny guy all his life, and he showed a picture, skinny, and he said, it's like I almost didn't exist. And so for him, his sort of psychological attraction to feeding himself up, you should have seen what was in his fridge. It was the worst. You opened the fridge, it was just like cream, milks, just like all of the stuff specifically to make you fatter. And he was just good, like loving it. And he was really proud of his belly starting to get big. And I was like, okay, I was just trying to be open-minded. And then he said, yeah, so now I'm going to take my space in the world. Now people won't be able to ignore me. I thought, oh, I get that in a way, especially if you were very slight and very small and maybe not a confident person. He felt invisible. And so he's like, okay, I'm now ready to take my space in the world, and I'm going to do it by getting fat, and then you'll see me. I was like, okay, good on you. Go for it, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And another thing
And he
that
had
is
a
also a community driven. They're usually in community too. They have friends or they have other people
yes.
that they do it with, and there's so a lot of it is kind of across the board with all of these different desires that are food related is the sense of belonging, finding community, finding connection through it, as well as a sense of like feeling yourself, feeling fully expressive, feeling fully
Okay.
in your body, feeling connected, and it just everyone does it in different ways, and so somebody I think you could actually compare it to someone who over exercises and restricts all their food is maybe has a similar pattern in
Sure.
some ways to the feeders in that
Yeah.
it's like they're so connected to their body that they're doing it in a way that is really restrictive versus really engorging.
Yeah, rather really generous. Yeah, okay. I definitely, there's, as you said, so much fat shaming in our culture and so much celebration of, the fit, thin body. But I've seen addictive type of patterning even in exercise. Yeah, like
Totally.
over exercising in
Oh
a
yeah.
Just
just
as much
addictive way
negative.
and being so, yeah, just as much as, sort of just allowing yourself to get flabby and eat what you want. So yeah, balance, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Thanks for
So,
letting me
what do
talk
you
about
like? You
this
like
food
sweet stuff,
topics.
and you like sweet stuff.
Yeah, I'm a sweet
Yeah,
stuff fan for
yeah.
sure.
Well, we've got the things that you guys seem to like. Serendipity, you said you like muffins and cupcakes and donuts.
Oh yeah.
So, are we going to have a splosh?
Do you want to?
Or at least
Let's do it. Although,
check out the food in this birthday cake world? Okay, let's go.
let's do it.
Party time. We'll
Just have to unfreeze my body.
get ourselves. Okay, what do we have here?
Oh,
What are the
look at
buckets for?
this.
Is the bucket so we can
Oh, for
try
the
and throw
soda,
the
maybe?
cupcake into my bucket, or is that for
Yeah, I
for the
think it's.
soda?
Maybe for the
Oh,
Okay.
it
soda.
says juice. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to get it to fill it.
Uh-huh. Uh,
Yeah, see, I can. I
I
want to
can't
like
get the lid
get
off
all of
on
these
that one.
I want to get as many of these in my face as I can.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
I
go.
love how you could even see the reflection
Let's,
of the
can I,
birthday
can I,
candles and the
can I
icing.
just, can I feed you? Can I feed you some more
Yeah.
donuts?
Fill
Donuts,
as many, put as many in my face as possible.
Okay, almost like you almost can't breathe. Okay.
Yeah, this is feeling.
Open your mouth.
I want to just be. I want to be drowning in sweets. Just like.
Oh, I
Sugar
want a donut
donuts,
so bad.
chocolate.
Please just
Mhm.
cover me in them.
And what about some cola? Can I open it? Soft drink. What can I do?
So,
Yeah, I
speaking
just
of
want like
food,
Top of you
what's your
there.
relationship with food
Yes.
like? Because I feel like it's
My-
really complicated for a lot of people.
my relationship with food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's weird because I'm pregnant right now. I don't know if I've said this officially on the stream, but I used to have an autoimmune related disorder and I couldn't eat most things. I couldn't eat dairy, couldn't eat gluten, I couldn't eat like a lot of things I really loved for a long time.
Oh wow.
And now that I'm pregnant, I can eat anything I want. My body just is like back to equilibrium and really like just my immune system's better and I'm eating everything.
Great.
And it's been really liberating again to be like, oh, this is what I forgot. I really like. I just like really love food, but it means I have gone back to some bad habits. Like I'm eating less vegetables. I'm eating less natural things. So I'm not needing to make them as much myself. I'm able to like eat processed foods and like eat things at bakeries a lot. And so I think it like when I have my body isn't setting limits on me, I definitely like don't eat very well sometimes, and I really like eat whatever it feels good. And I definitely have food as a source of comfort, safety, pleasure for me a lot of times. And that's very family
Who wants
pattern,
to eat
like
the
family
donuts
trauma.
off my dress? I got 2 donuts. Let's go, both of you. You have one side, you have the other side.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
There you go. There's your donut, Serendipity. Get in there, munch it. Yeah. Yoo.
Ooh,
Cool.
yeah.
Thank
Great. Oh, that was fun.
Venus, what's your food relationship like?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because all this stuff that we have here that we're playing with, I don't tend to eat at all. So that's partly
No?
because I'm gluten intolerant. So because I can't have gluten, I
Yeah.
don't have donuts, I don't have biscuits, I don't have muffins. Of course, there are gluten-free options, but I tend to just tend away from sweets and cake-like things. So for me, I get my sugar in probably more from juices and soft drinks occasionally. So that's more my sugar relationship. Um, I find that I was thinking about this topic and VR and how it relates to VR. One thing for me is I can be in VR for hours, be so immersed, loving what's happening. And what's the one thing that makes me need to get out is food. Like
Yeah,
it gets to a
food.
point where I'm so
Yeah.
hungry that I need to stop and say, hey, I'm really enjoying this and I want to stay, but my body is actually saying I need food now.
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking about how I can, if I don't actually like playing with food in a world because it makes me hungry. And I don't
Oh,
want to be hungry
interesting.
while I'm
Yeah.
in VR, right?
Yeah.
So
I could
that
see
was
that.
more my relationship to food in VR. And it's the one thing, apart from a bio break, it's usually the one thing that makes me go, okay, I've just got to get out now. And my relationship to food, I think that I don't feed myself enough, actually. Um, like I don't eat a lot through the day, and it's probably related to my adrenal pattern. You know, I think a part of me actually
Yeah.
likes not being really full through the day so that I use my adrenaline. That's what I think I've identified is a bit of a pattern. And it's maybe not so healthy, but then I have a really decent meal, you know, early evening or late evening.
Yeah.
And my relationship to food is one, I don't know, maybe it's my DNA. I've never really had to be super careful about what I eat in terms of getting fat. Or maybe it's because I'm an adrenal junkie. Perhaps it's that too, you know,
You're
how
not
using
seeking
adrenaline
it.
will keep,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I've never really had to be super careful. So I pretty much just eat what I want to. But it tends to be mostly meat and vegetables and low carbs. Yeah, I am quite carnivorous. So I don't know. That's my relationship to food. Mm.
So the food play party you would have would just be like a pile of sausages with like some genitals mixed in.
That's a good question. What would I do? Yeah, what would I like? No, things like maybe finer foods like prosciutto. Do you know what prosciutto is? It's like an Italian
Yeah.
Oh
cured
yeah,
ham.
that's good.
And you
Yeah.
slice it very thin and it's just so
Yeah.
yummy and salty. But I'm just thinking now, imagine that laid over my body could feel really beautiful, like from a texture point of view.
Yeah.
Yes, and then you've got some gherkins. You got your little gherkins. What else? You know, olives. So yeah, I'd probably be
You're
much more of a
Mm.
okay.
savory
You're
type of splosh party.
Charcuterie board
so
then.
yeah,
Yeah.
Venus is a charcuterie board. I like this.
Yes. Yes, that's what I
Uh,
am. Yes, you got it. Spot on.
Serendipity, what's your food relationship? Did you have some thoughts for this before this conversation?
Oh yeah, it's super complicated for me. I am one of those people that I bounce around a lot, and I have to put a lot of effort into not being overweight. Like, so I think it started around the time I met my husband because he's a chef and he makes delicious food. And at that time, when I met him, I was just starting to cook for myself. But he came in and he took over the cooking duties, and you know he's bigger than I am. I'm only 5'3", and so I would eat and I would keep up with him, and I started
Yeah.
to put on
Uh-huh.
weight, and I started to get comfortable and happy, and I started to put on more weight. And then, you know, I reach a certain point and it's like, okay, I am not good with how I look and feel right now. So I need
Yeah.
to, you know, watch what I eat. And then, you know, in order to do that as a short woman, you have to really restrict. Like at my height, if I want to lose any weight, I am limited to 1,200 calories a day, which isn't very much. So, in order to lose weight, I have to
Huh.
kind of constantly think about food, constantly think about what
It's
I'm
hard.
eating, what I cannot eat. It is, it's super hard. And I've done it before, and that's where, you know, the weight fluctuation comes in. But if I'm not putting a lot of thought and effort into what I'm eating, I will easily gain a lot of weight. I'm especially hooked on like sugars. Like just this morning, my husband said
It's hard.
something
Yeah.
about donuts. Oh yeah, he had to stop at work, stop on his way to work to pick up donuts. And I was thinking, oh my God, I want
Oh,
a donut so bad, but I can't. I can't do it. I can't. Like, I am
There you
not
go.
happy with
Do
where
it.
I'm at right now. Thank you. I know it was like,
in VR
this is
you
gonna help.
can eat as many as you want, as many as you want
Yeah.
here, honey. Mm.
So I'm doing better these days, and I'm going to the gym like 4 days a week. But it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, and as a
Have
Shannon,
you
like I grew up
ever?
in. Sorry,
No, go
Venus.
ahead.
I grew up with, but my mom was really, she identified herself as obese and she was really like, had a lot of like depression and mental illness and like a lot of it attached to
Yeah.
her weight. And she, her mom put her on a diet when she was, 12 and she was, had a lot of
Oh,
like suicidality around her weight. So like I grew up in that home where every single day I heard my mom saying how much she hated herself, hated her body, hated and like called herself names. So for me, I was always like, I'm not going to be like that. So I've always been like very anti, like I'm not
yeah.
going to diet. I'm not going to be like super
Yep.
conscious around my food. I want to be like understand how it's impacting me, but I'm not gonna like I worked hard to like be in the opposite direction around like not letting it be a fixation that makes me like hate myself and luckily like I do also have like a
Mm.
body that isn't as quite as easily. I'm a tall, lanky person, so it hasn't been much of an issue for me sometimes. But like even when there were times where I was larger, even right now being pregnant, it's like I have to work really hard to stay out of that mindset that there is one way my body is supposed to be and it should
Oh
look
yeah.
this way, and I'm
Yeah.
bad or wrong if it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I grew up similar. Like my mom wasn't obese or even overweight, but she was the type of person that would talk about other people's bodies all the time. And she would talk
Yeah.
about her own body negatively. So I've made a point to
Mm.
never talk about other people's bodies or talk about my body negatively in front of my kids. I don't want to put that on them. Even when
Right.
I'm
That's
feeling
important.
super self-conscious about how I look, I will still put a smile on my face, and I make sure my kids do not feel that coming from me in any way.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
key.
That's super important. That's really great how with both of your stories, that you saw, what your mother's demonstrated and you went, no, that affected me. So I'm going to do the exact opposite. That's great.
Yeah.
Mm. My mother, I think I
Oh, I
grew
think
up
Soleil
with
wants to
quite a
speak on
healthy, I think my mother was a bit of a health freak and sort of a bit on the hippie side of town. So, we're mostly vegetarian as we grew up. I remember lentils every night for a while. We probably were not very
Oh
rich
wow.
it.
either. So maybe that was the choice. I don't know if the choice of not having meat was more about not having money or about more of a health approach. But yeah, I remember lentils. And to this day, I can't eat lentils because I just had so many lentils. Oh my God. It was like, Mum, again? So
Yeah.
yeah, there are certain things I can't have. Carrot juice is one of them. I was forced to drink carrot juice every morning. Forced.
Oh,
Okay, she didn't open my mouth and pour it
nice.
down my throat, but forced in the sense of this is your breakfast. You sit there and you have this carrot juice, and I hated it. It was like traumatic. Every morning I
That's
had to drink
terrible.
this thing. Oh, I hated carrot juice. I like carrots, but juicing it, oh, whole other
Yeah,
story.
that's
And
terrible.
so to this day, I,
Yeah.
I can't even smell carrot juice. It's just like, oh. So yeah,
Oh,
isn't it interesting, hey? It's like
yeah.
psychological trauma that I had but I have to say she was trying to do a good thing. She was trying to give us a
Right.
healthy bodies and healthy attitudes.
Yeah.
So all good. Okay, Soleil looks like she's going to be a platter. Okay, so
I'm
let's
ready.
pile her up. Yep.
Ready.
I can't work out how to get the lid off the collar because I really want to like do collar over your whole body from the head down. Is that okay? You go
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
imagining. Yeah, it's cold, it's
This is like
sparkling, and it's
some
all
gold.
like and it's sparkling on
This
your
is like
skin. Yeah.
this is like the brown shower instead of a golden shower. um,
Ah. Yeah.
but no, I appreciate you all having
Oh
this. I appreciate you
no.
having this conversation with me. Thanks all for talking about this with me. I know that for me,
Yeah.
it's always I feel like it's a taboo thing, but it's a thing that I really like. Food is such a big part of who we are, and living in Mexico, like food is
It
such a
is.
big part of the culture here. Like all they do is eat here, and so it just feels like I'm like reevaluating my relationship to food so much here, and how like what things I eat and what things are important and why they're important. So yeah, I'm really grateful to have this chat with you all.
Oh, I'm glad
Yeah.
you
Well,
brought
for
it
me, it
up.
was when I saw that article. on Viceland because it opened my eyes. I had
Totally.
never seen that. People, getting really sensual and sexy around their fatness and loving it and enjoying it, and even making movies. These ladies were
Yeah.
making movies. They were actually like porn stars in a way,
Totally.
because for every fetish, there is someone for every fetish, right? There is someone who will wants to
Exactly.
Oh
watch
yeah.
Yeah.
everything. So,
Totally.
if you find your place and can celebrate your body, yeah, it was really great to see. It was very positive.
Well,
I wish I remembered the name of
I
the
love that.
girl. It was like probably like a sex therapist style of, those styles
Yeah.
where a sex therapist or someone who's a sexologist goes out and interviews people
Yeah.
and looks at different things. It was that type of show, but I can't
Yeah. I love
remember her
that.
name. If I find it, I want to send it to you, Serendipity, because it was quite a good little doc. I'll have a look
Well,
online.
Yeah, sounds
Okay, so do you want us to
interesting.
eat off you, or you're happy? You just
well,
want to lie there
I
and
want
be
to.
covered?
I think I'm just happy covered in it right now. I was as you were just saying that I
Okay.
remember this boy I went on this date with, this dude in Portland, and he was like, "Oh, can I show you my favorite porn before we connect?" And I was like, "Sure." Like I always want
Yeah.
to see someone's favorite video. And so he like turns on this video, and it's these two beautiful like Asian women, and they just are like force feeding each other cakes and like these really rich desserts, and then vomiting it back up, and that was it. That was the entire video.
Oh.
They were mostly clothed.
Interesting.
They like I think like a bra strap fell down once, but it was mostly just this like force feeding and the vomiting. And I was like, I thought about that video a lot, like
Wow.
ever since that date, and kind of like in the fetish world, it was very much like he wanted like deep throating and kind of like he wanted more like oral experiences, so that for him I think it kind of fed that like desire as somebody with a penis. But for me I was just like I like
Ah.
love that this was made, and it was just like it wasn't about like what else their body was doing. It was just around like this like playful silly like, and it was like the things you saw coming up in the vomit was like the food they just digested. It wasn't like it was like the pretty cake was coming back. Like it was very newly. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little bit
Yes.
into
Yeah.
my weeds.
Newly
But yeah, it's
digested.
a
Getting a
very
bit gross there, but
the newly like
I shouldn't
newly
say gross.
imbibed. Yeah, that was like it had just gone.
So
It just
that's just
gotten into
me.
their bodies. Yeah,
Yeah, that's my judgment. So isn't that interesting? So I judge that
yeah,
and I call it
totally.
gross. So that's interesting to observe. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. Something for
I
everyone.
love being covered in this. Thank you for this beautiful cake display. I wanted to eat
Oh,
all
it's
of
beautiful. You actually,
it.
it does actually entice me to have one of those chocolate iced muffins here, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah.
I'll just leave them on you. Well, that's beautiful. Okay, well, here we are, Hotties in VR. This has been an episode around, and we've learnt a lot, haven't we? I think we've learnt a
About
Yeah.
lot
food
about
and
different
connection and
I like
bodies.
this
relationships to
one.
food and
That was
connection,
fun.
some of the kinky ways that people have a relationship with food, but also just around texture and connection and community, as Soleil was saying. Uh, and I
Well,
really
maybe
love
the
that, what
summary
you
for
mentioned
me
about
is
being in Mexico and how
yeah,
different that is to, say, being in the Western, worlds where we're so separate. We often don't share our meals together. Well, we definitely don't do enough.
totally. I think that's maybe the takeaway for me is like it doesn't matter what size your body is. It doesn't matter what you like to eat. It just matters that you're eating in a way that feels good to your body, and you're in connection with other people, and you're celebrating the joy of pleasure and
Yep.
connection.
I like that.
Oh, that's our summary for today. And
Thanks for joining us here in Hotties in VR.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Just check.
And
It's very colourful. The stream is looking super colourful. Thank you to our producer, Lily Bit.
and you can follow us. I'm at Goddess Soleil or Cyborg Dreams with a Z.
And you'll see that we have tags that run along the bottom, which gives you our link trees. So I have a link tree that you can jump onto if you want to connect. I don't know
And I'm
what it
scared.
is. I probably should find
Serendipity
out.
Sky VR. And